So in my last upload, The New Normal, I mentioned that my future videos were going to have a more spiritual focus because as darker times draw ever closer, it is the knowledge of our ethereal self and divine nature that is going to make a difference to how we traverse the difficult days ahead of us. With that in mind, I started to think about how I would approach this new series of videos and what would be the best way to relay this esoteric subject matter. For the last 10 years, I have continued my extensive cross-culture studies into ancient philosophy, the holy texts, mythology, symbolism, hermetics, Kabbalah, and numerology, and uploaded many videos revealing how this esoteric knowledge relates to our divine nature and the experiences that are now unfolding around us on the material plane. However, in this new series, I will not be as methodical and regimented with explaining the knowledge as I was in the mystery teachings of ancient Egypt, but instead use the scriptures, other holy texts, and philosophical teachings as a foundation which I will utilize as a catalyst to discuss the workings of the universe and the connection each soul has to the divine force that gives life and movement to everything in our physical experience. However, I do recommend that all new seekers to this information or anybody who wants a more thorough and in-depth explanation of the archetypal symbols and information discussed in this new series go back and watch the Mystery Teachings of Ancient Egypt and the Mystery Teachings Research Notes. Links to both playlists can be found in the description under the video. So in this first video of the series, we will look at the parables and teachings about taking the studies of this knowledge seriously and approaching this subject as though it is something to be lived, not just something to be read out of curiosity and then put away and forgotten at the end of the day while the reader continues on in his experience of the material plane with absolutely no changes being applied to his life at all. There are some who will apply the most easiest and least amount of change to their lives to fool themselves into believing meditating for 10 minutes before work or eating a vegetarian diet somehow translates to elevating them into a state of enlightenment. Some will feign love and kindness to every person who reads their motivational quotes on social media, but usually underneath their passive-aggressive facade, they are absolutely miserable and oppressed, and it doesn't take much for the cracks in that false facade to reveal their true character. Every person embarking upon this journey back to self needs to know this. Either be prepared to become the child and relearn everything you thought you knew again, or your studies will be for naught. Think of the Fool Tarot card and how it portrays innocence and trust in a higher wisdom to illuminate your path ahead, which is why the Fool looks up and places his complete faith in something beyond the material world around him, even if in doing so it means taking a great risk in the unknown. Angelus Silesius proclaimed to all students about to partake in this journey back to self, "Unless thou dost become a child, thou canst not enter into the place where all God's children are. For thee the doorway hath too small a space." Again, this means removing all your past prejudices and beliefs and approaching this knowledge as an innocent child learning about the world around him for the first time. As Epictetus stated, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Be prepared to lose family and friends as you shed your old skin and conquer your lower nature, unshackling yourself from the material world which has trapped you in only a physical understanding of yourself. And most importantly, be prepared to make massive changes in every aspect of your life, or don't bother watching past this sentence because you will just be wasting your time. Manly P. Hall puts it this way: "But woe to those who, ignorant, selfish, and otherwise unqualified, dabble in any form of occult science without first overcoming the more important faults of the lower nature. The proof of man's sincerity is his willingness to sacrifice, and the occult student must sacrifice his lower nature if he would enter the temple of wisdom. Or as the Sufi mystic Idris Shah says, you must empty out the dirty water before you fill the pitcher with clean. The Celtic texts from the Colebrane Bible teaches, the man who is filled with learning and knows all the wisdom of the sacred books, but fails to put it into practice, is like a many-branched tree with no depth of root. The wind blows, and it is laid low to quickly rot. The man with much learning and knowledge, but no strength of character, is like a frail pot filled with precious liquid. If roughly handled, it falls apart, and the contents are lost. This is also why Jesus warned that those who are gifted knowledge but do not apply this knowledge to their lives are building their houses on sand. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain comes down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. But it's not just Christian hypocrites who are building their houses on sand. Those who gravitate to New Age beliefs, which are appealing to listen to and believe in and require the least amount of effort or change to one's circumstances, are also building their houses on sand. And when the storm comes, as it surely will, they will have nothing of substance to grasp onto and be swept away with the unconscious and ignorant masses. Understanding the truth about who you are and your divine nature means moving out of your lower nature, and in doing so will mean facing unpleasant truths about your life and sacrificing relationships with family and friends around you who revel in their lower nature. You can be sure that as you begin to move into your higher mind and shed those unwanted vices, it will threaten those in your inner circle who will fight to stay in their base natures and do not want to feel ashamed to do so. This is why the tarot card number 9 is the Hermit. The number 9 symbolizes enlightenment and the possession and understanding of divine knowledge. And it also shows that those who do possess this sacred knowledge will, for the most part, walk this path alone. Manly P. Hall addresses this when he warns, as a student of metaphysics, you can expect very little encouragement from those about you. For this reason, you must be prepared to resist the encroachment of circumstances. The true mystic is sustained by his own spiritual understanding. The source of all truth and inspiration is within. When you have developed this realization within yourself, you will have gained a strength and peace which the material world can never take from you. Spiritual knowledge bestows security under any and all conditions. This is what the parable from Matthew 10 symbolizes when Jesus states he will not return to bring peace, but a sword. Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. The symbol of Jesus not only represents the firstborn divine male, but also represents Christ consciousness within mankind. And with the return of Christ consciousness, as we move towards the beginning of a new great year, the material world is now thrown into disarray. The most evil and corrupted amongst us are now in places of power all over our world. And they work to encourage this division and disunity between us using politics, race, religion, and gender. However, if you have separated from family and friends over political differences or religious ideological beliefs rather than truth alone, then it is for nothing. You have actually played into the devil's hands. However, if you are a student of divine truths and live by those virtues which bring scorn from family and friends, and yet you do not allow that to deter you from your path, even if that makes your path more difficult and lonely, then you have proven yourself worthy of possessing divine knowledge. And even if it brings death to your physical body, your soul will find life in the next great year cycle that begins with a golden age. So I will finish this first video of the series with a teaching from Confucius. Ponder on this and understand that knowledge is to be lived, not studied. It is to be applied, not looked upon as a curiosity. Divine knowledge and truth is only for the brave, and only those who are willing to sacrifice everything for the attainment of it are worthy of it. Worthy admonitions cannot fail to inspire us, but what matters is changing ourselves. Reverent advice cannot fail to encourage us, but what matters is acting on it. Encouraged without acting, inspired without changing, there's nothing to be done for such people.